So the newest Pokemon TCG set just dropped, Shrouded Fable, and with that comes a lot of new GLC cards that we can talk about. I've got a stack here, and we're going to talk about how these cards are going to make your favorite GLC decks better. Hope you guys are doing well. I want you guys to know that you are loved. Let's look. So first off, we have Yveltal, has 120 HP. It's a basic Pokemon, so you can get it out with Quick Ball, Nest Ball, any ways you can get a basic Pokemon out without that stipulation. So you can't get it with Level Ball or Buddy Buddy Poffin. But it is a pretty cool card if you play Dark Spread at all. We have Corrosive Winds for 1 Dark Energy. Put 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it, which is pretty cool. It's a very cheap attack. Then, I mean, you got Destructive Beam for 100, 2 dark, 1 colorless. Flip a coin if it has discarded energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. But it has a nice retreat cost. It has a resistance to fighting, which fighting has had an uptick. And the weakness is going to be lightning, which is going to have, I mean, that's kind of like, I don't want to say mid right now, but you see a little bit less of a lightning decks right now. But Corrosive Winds is a nice, cheap move that you can use, and it's pretty decent for, you know, a spread dark list. Then we have this Crobat here. This Crobat's pretty cool. It has 130 HP, so it's kind of like out of range of some of those 120 hits. But it's a dark Pokemon. It has the ability Shadow Envoy. Once your turn, if you play Janine's Secret Art, we'll get to that here in a moment, from your hand this turn, you may draw cards until you have 8 cards in your hand. So it could, you know, could be used as a decent draw engine, especially if you have a low hand size and, you know, you just happen to have that combo at the time. But it does have free retreat, which is cool. And then for 1 dark, 1 colorless, Poison Fang 120. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. During your Pokemon checkup, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon instead of 1. So you're effectively hitting for 140 for 2 energy, which isn't bad. And if they stay in the active, 160, and you kind of get the gist of that. But same kind of resistance and weakness as Yveltal. Then we have Zorua. This is just I'm pretty sure this is just one of the better basics now for Zorua, just because you have 70 HP. It's searchable with Buddy Buddy Poffin, and it's going to be a little bit stronger than a 60 HP basic. I'm a big fan of the 70 HP. For metal, we got Capparaja, 200 HP, has the awesome ability Massive Body. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play any stadium cards from their hand. So this is a really cool ability. Keeps your opponent from using their stadiums. So it kind of has your stadiums in there and just lock it in place. So it can kind of be very interruptive for your opponent, especially if you play something such as a Parallel City, locking them to have only 3 bench spots the entire time. Or maybe you're just keeping, or maybe you have a Crystal Cave out there or a Metal Lab, just making sure that you're like either healing damage or tanking damage a lot better. And then you have the Nasal Lariat, attack for 3 metal, 1 colorless, hits for 130. And then if you do so choose, you can add 100 onto that attack, hitting for 230. You just can't use that move the next turn. So, I mean, 130 is knocking out a lot of Pokemon already, but if you need to knock out a big Pokemon, then you can just choose to use Nasal Lariat. It is a big retreat cost of 4 retreat, so it's going to hit for quite a bit. But other than that, it's a pretty good card. Very good card. Then we got our Varoom. It's just going to be, again, kind of in Zorua's case, just a 70 HP basic, better than the 60 HPs that we have a choice from. And it has a retreat cost of 1, but also has Rigidify in a pinch, you know. But it's pretty cool basic. I love 70 HP basics. We got Joltik. This Joltik gives you access to the dual type Galvantula that can kind of spread a little bit damage in grass spread if you're interested in that at all. But other than that, that's just why I have this card included. It's just a grass Joltik for the grass Galvantula that has that spread damage. But we got the Tapu Bulu, has 140 HP, so it's kind of the awkward cost, but 2 grass, 2 colorless, hits for 220 damage. It also does 30 damage to itself as a downside, but that is a big number that grass needs to be able to hit for high numbers for a lower cost. And I say lower cost because most of the time you're going to pair this with the Jungle Totem ability from Venusaur, which per 1 grass energy with its ability turns 1 grass energy into 2 grass energy. So it's just super helpful in getting that out. And then if you have Rillaboom with it, you can just take that out of the deck, have it instantly a 220 attack from Tapu Bulu. Then we got Fracture. Fracture has this ability, Unnerve. When your opponent plays an item or supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to their Pokemon. So it's just the optimal Fracture. It's not lovable, searchable, but it just protects that stage 1 from getting bossed or gusted or even escape rope. You can't even use escape rope on it, but you're choosing, so your opponent can't use it, but it just can't. It's not affected by that. So it's just the optimal Fracture to play whenever you're going to Haxorus. This is a new Haxorus. I'm not a big fan of it, but if you're a fan of it and you're curious, has 170 HP, bring down the axe for 1 fighting. If your opponent's active Pokemon has any special energy attached, it's knocked out. So I mean, it's an auto knockout to anything that has a special energy on there, which is kind of funny, which is actually really funny because there's always a lot of special energy being played, but you got that, and then you have Dragon Pulse for 1 fighting, 1 metal, hits for 230, but you have to discard 3 cards from the top of your deck. And Dragon, sometimes you don't want to do that because, every card, and this goes for all decks, almost every card in every deck is very vital for you to be able to win the game. So if you put something in the discard pile from the top of your deck that you really want, then you might just be out of luck. And then right here is the Kyurem. This is a digital version, if you haven't noticed. But right here we have the Kyurem. It is 130 HP, has the ability Plasma Bane. If your opponent has any cards in their discard pile that have Colress in their name, this can be used for 1 colorless. So 1 colorless, or you have to pay the whole cost, which is 2 water, 2 metal, 1 colorless Trifrost. Discard all energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 110 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. So, that is a high attack cost, but if they do play their Colress, whether it be Colress's Tenacity or just Colress or also Colress's Experiment, there's 3 Colress that can be played in GLC. You're attacking for 110 to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon for 1 colorless, which is insane. But it's also kind of unlikely as well, since it's easily playable to play around, because you could just not play Colress if you see Dragon or if you know that they have it. So that's kind of a downer. Then we have the Bloodmurn Ursaluna, has 150 HP, has the ability Battle Harden. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic fighting energy cards from your hand to this Pokemon. So it's kind of like the Galarian birds, where you lay it down. If you have those energy in your hand, you can just put them on that Pokemon for an easy way to accelerate the energy onto that Pokemon. Then we have Mad Bite for 2 fighting, 1 colorless, hits 100 plus 30 per damage counter that's on your opponent's Pokemon. So you can use this in a spread deck and just kind of clean up some of those big heavy hitters if there's any line around with Bloodmurn Ursaluna. Then we got the Cresselia, 120 HP. You're not going to use it for the Healing Pirouette, but you most likely are going to be using it for Crescent Purge if you do play this card. So it's going to hit for 80 plus. You may turn one of your face down prize cards face up. If you do, this attack does 80 more damage. So, you could just interact with your face prize cards or your face down prize cards, flip one up, and then you're hitting for 80 more damage for 160, which that's kind of easier to get going than, let's say, Necrozma. Necrozma does have 130 HP, which is just out of range of 120, but still, it's kind of easier to get going. Actually, without D-Valley, I stand corrected, D-Valley makes it easier for Necrozma. Then we got Dusclops, 90 HP, so it is levelable searchable. Has the ability Curse Blast. Once during your turn, you may put 5 damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you use this ability, this Pokemon is knocked out. So this is a really cool card. You just put 5 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon just by knocking it out. And it kind of activates your counter catcher, activates your counter energy, anything like that for psychic decks. So it's kind of awesome. And then you have a card that does even more. You have Dusknoir that does 13 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So you can pair this up with like a Lost Zone box and put let's see, 25 damage counters in one turn if you can get to there, which I don't think it's too hard, but that's insane, actually. And then we got to the trainer cards. We have Academy at Night. Once during each player's turn, that player may put a card from their hand on top of their deck. This is synergizes highly with things that you want to stack your deck with, whether that be like if anybody plays electric generators, or the Matang with the ability that lets you search the top 4, attach any metal energy, Metagross that has the top deck ability, just all sorts of different cards that you might just want to be able to stack onto your deck. You can use this card and just stack whatever you want on top of your deck. Then we have the Bonding Mochi tool. Basically, you might just see this in poison decks, which is going to be dark decks. Attacks used by your poison Pokemon that this card is attached to do 40 more damage. So it can help you do quite a bit. And if you have this, let's say, attached to a Guzzlord, you're hitting a Red Banquet Guzzlord, you're hitting for 120 plus 40, so 160. And I mean, 160 is going to get a knockout on plenty of things, and you're going to take an extra prize card with that. So that is kind of insane as well. Then we have the Xerosix Machinations. This card paired with Lieutenant Surge and Delinquent are going to be pretty spicy if you can get that combo going, which with that Magneton, with that ability that lets you search for 3 if you knock it out, 3 supporters if you knock it out. I mean, a lot of people talking about some type of bans. So I would just keep an eye out for this card. We're just going to see it. And, you know, this is very good in control decks to just wipe out your entire hand. I mean, it's going to be kind of crazy with Lieutenant Surge. Then we got Janine's Secret Art. So this is the card that I was talking about earlier with that Crobat. Choose up to 2 of your dark Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a basic dark energy and attach it to that Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. If you attach energy to your active Pokemon in this way, it is now poisoned. So with that Mochi that we just saw earlier, you can also accelerate energy very quickly to Guzzlord, especially with its Beast Ring already. I mean, you're going to be able to just accelerate energy onto that Guzzlord super fast. So with Janine's Secret Art, we might see some Guzzlord decks go crazy, go wild. Then we got the Night Stretcher, which this is going to be making a lot of decks great as well. You can play this in big basic decks. You can play this in the Lost Zone decks. You can play this in Lightning decks. You can play this in so many different decks where if you want to put a Pokemon card from your discard pile into your hand, you can do it. Or you can put a basic energy card from the discard pile into your hand. So this is an awesome card that's going to change the game for GLC, especially if you were used to playing Buddy Buddy Rescue or anything like that, or even Revive. This is just a better Revive. But we got the Night Stretcher. Put a Pokemon or a basic energy card from your discard pile into your hand. It's going to be a card that's going to be seeing a lot of play in any GLC deck. Might even become a staple. And then we got Chorus's Tenacity. Search your deck for a Stadium card and an energy card. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. If you are having trouble finding a Guzman Hala, this is going to be just as good. Get you a Stadium and a Special Energy, and it also helps with redundancy in your GLC deck and being able to, if you are reliant on Special Energy, Chorus's Tenacity, Guzman Hala are 2 cards that you can use to search out specific Special Energy, which is awesome. And Chorus's Tenacity is just going to be a great card. It's going to be seeing a lot of play in Dragon decks. I'm going to put it in my Water deck. I'm excited for this card and just to see what the impact it has on the GLC format. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and click all the buttons. You know what to press. But other than that, always remember, stay thankful.